guys, welcome back. Part 2 for the blueprint for our pillar stump. So now where we left off, we had our instant kill procedure ready. Now we just need to create our pillar stump animation. So let's go ahead and create a custom event. Add custom event. Call it pillar stump loop. That. And then from here, we're gonna go ahead and make a flip-flop. Just like when we did our, if you know how to make the platform, it really looks a lot similar. There's a few things that are going to be different, but not a lot. So now for the first part, you want to make sure to set can kill, or just alt drag this one here and make it to false. So that means when the pillars going back to starter, so it's pulling up, you don't want your player to be able to die by just passing underneath, like we talked in the last episode. And then we're going to do a move component too. Very simple. Like before, just grab the trap body, grab it here, and here make a promote to variable, call it pulling up movement, or call it pulling up movement. And then for the overtime, so that's the time it takes to get to the action, we're going to promote this to a variable too and call it time to go up, or time to pull up, and combine save. So for the editable, for this one, it's done. So make sure to make this one and this one customizable, because we're going to set it up inside our level after. And the can kill, since it's a component, because we are not meant to change it, we're going to drag it inside the component. Oops. Like that. Now on the complete, we're going to make a retriggerable delay. Retriggerable delay. Like that. And promote this to variable and call it a time between ticks. So now when the pillar comes up, what does it do? There's a time between the ticks, so you decide how much time it's going to be. Default I think is 0.2. Let's put it to default 1. Same thing for here. Time for pulling up 1 second. Just as a default. And when it's complete, we're going to do a pillar strike again. Pillar stump loop. So it's going to start going back and forward between those two actions until the procedure change or the player dies. So from here, the second thing, so now it's going to strike down. So what the first thing is going to happen is we're going to set this to can kill. So I don't know if you remember in the last episode, we did a Boolean check to see if the player could be killed when the pillar is being overlapped, so the death zone. That's our area of damage over here, collision. So let's do a move component too. Component 2. Same thing over here. We just grab the trap body. That's pretty easy over here. It's pretty much copy paste almost. You just promote this to variable, so that's the movement for the pillar stump down, or striking down, or whatever that implements that the pillar is going to hit down. And the time it's going to take is going to be time to go down. And like this. So now this is where it gets different, because when the pillar hits the floor, I want a sound and a particle effect to happen. So you could have made a sequencer that triggers both of them at the same time, but when this is done, it waits. You see it says complete over here. That means that whatever is going to carry out after is going to be carried out on complete. So that means the pillar is already struck down, and it happens so fast that you cannot put your sound and your particle effect here. So now let's create those two. So let's make a sound component. Sound. Yeah, I don't see it. Add component audio. Sorry. Call it pillar, or just trap sound effect. So that way if it's something else for you, you can just go ahead and do that like that. And since we want to put it customizable, we're going to go inside the construction script and we're going to drag this out with control and set sound. That way you can put your custom sound right over here, right there for the new sound. We're going to go ahead and promote this variable and call it custom sound effects here. Put it like that. And make sure this is editable, this one too, this one too, this one too, and drag them all inside the customizable. Like that. And last but least, we're gonna need our particle system. So particle system, call it pillar as spark, or trap particle system, trap animation, whatever you want. Now this is where it gets tricky. The sound and the pillar spark should be connected, attached to the body. Why is that? It's because you are going to move the trap body and on the axis of Z. So if you don't connect those two together, that means the sound might be playing from on top and the spark might happening on top because you didn't set them to move with the trap body. So that's very important. Keep that in mind. Make sure you did that part. So now that we're done with this, let's play our sound. So we're just going to drag this here, play sound, play audio like this, and the pillar spark, go like this, and activate. I think it's activate. Yeah, activate. And make sure to reset it. So that means that it's always going to play from the start of the animation that you created and not the if it already played and you just click activate and there's nothing else to show, that it's not going to go. And if you remember in the last episode, the one we made was a burstless, so it only spawns once and then it stops. So connect this to the time between tick and you're done. Pillar strike loop. Now the only thing that's left is that something needs to be called. Like you remember, I don't know if you remember when we talked about a custom event, but a custom event needs to be called by something. And so far, nothing is calling this. So even if I set the right procedure, nothing's going to happen. So when the event begin play fires, you want it to check right away what is the procedure. Because if it's a trap that is static and you don't want it to move, in our case the procedure 0, then you don't want it to start moving up and down and wait for the kill zone to do an instant death. So if you make sure the can kill is always set to false to begin with, that way the player cannot die by touching it. And here we're going to do a check. Let's just copy this over here. Control C, Control V. So we're going to do a check if this is equal to 0. That way, in our case, there's only 2 procedure. So right away, if it's not equal to 0, we know that it's going to be what? It's going to be our pillar strike. If you have more than 1, then you would have to do Control C, Control V, and check if it's 1. Let's do it. Let's go ahead and do that. If it's true, nothing happens. It goes to check if it's 1. If it's 1 and it's true, you call pillar stump loop. And there you go. Now it's going to fire the loop and then it's going to keep going because you set the procedure to 1. Save everything and let's go see if it works. So initially I didn't put anything here because I figured we were going to customize it ourselves. You could probably put it here too. I think you can grab this here and set particle system. Set template. That's what it is for. Set template for particle system. And then you can just create a new one over here, a variable, call it custom trap animation. Bam. And make it editable. That way, you know, it's going to be easier for us when we set our trap. So you're done with the program. Let's go ahead and test it out. So I already created a few of them over here just to show you how I wanted to use them. The first one over here is meant to be an obstacle. So when it goes up, it just stops the player from moving forward, and therefore it can't kill you. So what I did is I just grabbed the area of damage over here, and I just put it way below the level. That way it can't kill you by just standing next to it. Second way is this one over here, where I put one at the bottom, one at the top, and they both meet in the middle. So one goes down, one goes up, and when they meet in the middle, the spark happens, and if you're standing there, you are pretty much squished. And last but least, we have the one that the tutorial was meant to be for. So you have the pillar starting at the ceiling, and that's going to hit the floor and make that nice little pillar stump animation. So let's go ahead and see how they work, each of them. So you have one going up. So if I go here, I can't go through. And if I'm standing on it, I'm not going to die. And then you have these two over here that can kill me. So if I stand underneath this one and it hits, you're dead. And if this one hits me, boom, I'm dead too. And you see the spark too. So how did I set this up? So over here, so we don't need this one anymore, this two, and this. We are going to make our own. So we're going to drag our newly made trap. And let's just scale this frame to our newly made trap like this. And you're going to see at first it's a bunch of customizable things, but once you're done you can just alt and drag a new copy of it and it's going to work fine. So for the trap. So the trap body, what I decided to do is just a basic cube shape that I put there. And then from there you're going to play with the trap body. So make sure to go on the trap body. You're going to grab the material you want to put. For me it's the /middle _ steel over here. Let's put it here. And let's scale it down so that it doesn't go, so that it fits inside our square. And then from there, let's a little bit more. Let's go. Alright, and from there we're going to control click both of them and drag them up. And that's how nice it is with our frame. It makes it easy to just put it up or down. It works in both ways. Now for the trap body, back to the trap body, that's very important that you always work with the trap body when you scale it, or else you're going to change every value from the scene root. And you don't want to play with this because if you change the scale, then your measurements are not going to be proportion to your movement. So say I put the scale on the z-axis to 2, then when I decide to move for 200, you're actually moving from 400 because the scale is put to 2. So keep that in mind. If you don't want to affect the scene root, play with the components. So in our case, we want to up the scale for the square because right now, if you hit down, it's going to look like it's just a cube that falls down. And that's not what we want. We want it to be a pillar stump. So scale it uniformly so that it hits the floor. And when it hits the floor, it's still inside the ceiling. Now I'm happy with this. The second thing is you want to check the location. So now it says minus 231. But if you look at the trap, it says 2600. So what do I put over here? I need to put the trap body because that's what's moving inside our blueprint. If you look at our blueprint over here, I'm only moving the trap body and not the scene root trap itself. So keep that in mind. Always the relative location. So when the pillar hits the floor, he's going to be at minus 231. Now if you want to know what it is for when it's going to be up, just go back on the trap body and just drag it up till you're true like this. And now it says 247. So before it was minus 231. And when it's up, it's going to be 247. So not in the minuses. Save all. Now there's a little bit of tweaks I forgot to do inside the blueprint with you guys. You want to make sure to do these for every blueprint you make, especially when you add sound and particle effects. You need to make sure that the auto activation is off. Because if you don't, as soon as you start the level, you're going to see a spark happening on the ceiling for no reason because the animation is going to fire automatically. Same thing for the sound. You're going to hear a sound before it actually has been called. So make sure to find the activation and put it off. Compile and save. And the other thing is the pillar animation we did, the pillar spark, is very small. So I just decided to scale it up to 5 over here and 5 and the defaults. That way when you reach inside the level, you're going to see that it's already set up initially. So that way you don't have to set it for each of them. It's done once and it's going to work all the time. And now you can just customize you're ready to customize your trap. So let's go. So now we have trap damage, trap tick. That doesn't apply to this. That's for the spike trap. Procedure for us, it's 1. That's what we decided. Pulling up, it's 247 already set up. Time to go up 1, time between tick 1, I'm good with that. And when it hits the floor, takes about 0.2 seconds. I think it's pretty fair. That way it's going to go fast and you want to make sure not to be standing there when it happens. If you're not satisfied with it, you can customize them as you will. Now for the custom sound effect, I got myself a nice pillar stump. And don't worry if you don't have that sound yet. I'm going to leave a link in the description below, like always. Since it's a free sound I made in my nice big empty room with a box that I was closing. So it makes this nice result. And it really sounds like a... Well, I modified it on Audacity, of course. So let's drag this over here. So when it hits the floor, this is going to happen. And the custom trap animation is going to be the one that we created together. The P-Spark. And save everything. And now let's check and see if it works. So I jump inside the level. And oh, I see my first mistake over here. If you saw, the spark happens in the middle of the pillar. That's because we decided to play with the scale over here, but we didn't place the spark at the right place. So right now it's set in the middle over here. So you want to grab the spark and just set it up at the tip like this. And if you want to see if it works, just reset the emitter and you're going to see if it's what you want. Same thing for the area of damage. I forgot to change this too. We're going to have to set it so that it really fits with the bottom over here. And really you just have to do these tweaks only once, because once it's done once, you're going to see after we can just out and drag them everywhere in the level. And you just have to change the setting you want to make them a little bit more random, and you have yourself a nice trap system. So it goes down, you see a spark, and there we go. So hope you enjoyed this. Now let's just show you what I meant, but you can just grab them, control click, and drag them like this. Drag another one here. And if you want to, you can set it up, this one for, I don't know, 0.3, and this one between the tick is going to be 1.5, and this one is going to be 2. So now what's going to happen is that they're all going to work independently. And just like this, I just added 3 of them like this. And there you go. That's how sweet it is. Bam! Kills you too. So hope you enjoyed this. Now in the next episode, I'm gonna show you guys how to use the sound attenuation, because right now what's bothering me is that if I go all the way down there, so I'm pretty far from those 3 traps over there, I'm still gonna hear the sound like I'm right next to them. So you see, I see them going down, but I hear them like it's right next to my face, which makes no sense. So I'm gonna show you how to create depth, that depth inside the sound, now that we have ourselves a nice sound component right here. So stay tuned, have a good day.